Hello, Professor Toybox here, along with Aladdin, and we would like to welcome you back to the Lava Room in my Cave of Wonders toy box. Last time, I placed all of the pieces for the rail slide maze in this room, and today I'm going to hook up the Creativi-toys for all of the switches and doors to make this maze work. And so as we get started, we'll come into the editor, and we're going to place some buttons around in this room. And we need a button for this switch here in front of us. And we need a button for that switch down there. So that's where you have to go to flip those switches. The switch down at the bottom there is going to be changed from a button up here. And so that'll be overlooking that. As you can see, I placed the ledges where you can spot the switches that they're flipping. This one I want to face in that direction because the switch down there is the one that one's going to flip. And that's enough for now. We'll hook these up first. So this one, we'll open the logic menu, do a new logic connection. When pressed, we're going to come over to that switch, and we're going to rotate it. This button here, new logic connection, when pressed, is going to rotate this switch. This button, when pressed, is going to rotate this switch. And this button up here, when pressed, will flip this one down here. There we go. Alright, so that takes care of the switch portion of this. This one here, actually I'm not going to rotate neither that one or the one down here because I'm really using that as a way to hop over to the next rail slide over. And so that's just a splitter for that purpose, is how I'm using that. The other part of this is the doors, and right now if we approach that door or that door, they'll open automatically, but I don't want that to happen. And so what we're going to do is we're going to set up a Sidekick Door, and I'm using something different than a button for a couple of reasons. Number one, because that way, you know, the buttons flip rail switches and these will open doors. So it's kind of a consistency thing. And we'll need another one over here. And I'll just drop this down here for right now. We'll put it over here out of the way. And let's see, I'm trying to get to the terrain drawer. There we go. And this looks kind of funny sitting out here all by itself, at least to me. So I'm going to drop that block there. And then I'll style this to give it a little bit of texture here. So I'll apply that Asgard theme to that block. Now that looks like kind of one device there that's sitting there. And I'm going to use that to open the door. But I'm not going to hook it up directly. Because part of the problem is when you chuck the townsperson in the door, you're probably not going to be facing that direction. And a player coming in here who maybe hasn't played this before would not know that that switch is opening that door. And so what I want to do is use a camera to show them what this does when Genie pops out of there. And that means I want to put a delay on for the time when I open that door, because I want the camera to be looking there before it opens. And so we're going to set up both of the Sidekick doors this way. So we're going to need a few extra Creativi-toys. We're going to need a couple of locators that we can point the camera towards. And so for the first one, I'm going to place this over here, kind of out away from the pillars there a little bit and up in the air. And we're going to drop another one right down there. And then we'll need a couple of target cameras to hook up to those. So we're going to place one of these about here, looking in that direction. We'll place another one down over here, looking in that direction. And this one, the rail pieces are going to be in the way, but I'm actually doing that intentionally because I want the player to kind of have an idea of where that door is. It's kind of tucked back there out of the way, and from certain places in the toy box here, you can't even see that that door is there. And so this way it gives the player a little bit of an idea of what else to look for to know where that door is. And then we're also going to need a couple of time delayers. One for each of the doors. So for right now, we'll stick this one over here. And we'll put another one back over here. Yeah, right there, I guess, for now. All right, so let's hook this one up first. So on the townsperson door, under the properties, I do not want to remove the townsperson on entry. I do want to disable the door after use, but for right now I'm going to leave this off because I'll probably have to test this a few times. Detection level 1, that'll allow the Sidekick to detect this. And normal response chance to 10, that one to 0. And then we're going to do a new logic connection. When the normal response is returned, come over to the time delayer and start the delay. And the 1 second delay that's on that by default is fine. And then on the time delayer, a new logic connection when the delay is complete. We'll open up the door. And by making that logic connection now, that door will not open automatically when you walk up to it. Now the other part of this is the camera. And I want to activate that right away. So when Genie gets tossed out of this door, we'll activate the camera. 1 second later, the door will open. So on the door, we'll do a new logic connection. And once again, on the normal response returned, we're going to come over to the target camera over here and activate it. And on this camera, we're going to do a new locator connection, and we're going to point it in this direction by connecting up to that locator. That'll be our camera target. And under the properties for the camera, I'm going to use a defined duration, and I'm going to set this to 3 seconds. And these are fine. The camera target needs to be the connected locator. Let's set the player viewport to be a shared viewport so that all the players will see this. The rest of those options are all fine. So there we go. That should open that door. And let's go ahead and just drop down another button that we can use for reset. Because once I open that door, I'm going to want to close it. Because I'm going to want to reset it back to its original state. So that button we'll use temporarily as a reset button to close that door. And so now we can come over to this little ledge over here. And here we are, and we need Genie. So we'll come into the sidekicks. And I could pick any of these, but I really want Genie. So we'll place him. There's a door. So now we toss him in. camera view will switch when he comes out. 1 second later, the door opens. So that's how that'll work. So then we can actually see the door opening when the camera is pointing that way. And let's go ahead and just take Genie out because we're done testing with him now. Okay. And we'll go ahead and push the button up here to close that door back up. Okay, and while we're here, we can use this same button for the other door as well. So a new logic connection when pressed. We'll come over here and close this door too. Okay, you can see it closed that door. Alright, so we're going to do the exact same thing then with this one. So once again, and I could just do this offline, but sometimes it's helpful for new builders to see this. So that's set. So new logic connection. When the normal response is returned, once again, we go to the time delayer, start the delay. On the time delayer, a new logic connection when the delay is completed. Come and open the door. This camera up here, we're going to connect over to that locator. That's our camera target. And for the properties, once again, same thing we did before, define duration of 3 seconds. We'll set the player viewport to be a local shared viewport. Camera target has to be the connected locator. And there we go. And then now all we have to do is activate that camera. So a new logic connection on the door, normal response returned. If I can select it, there we go, and activate. Alright, now I could just throw this little door up against that wall, but I kind of thought it might be a little bit fun because I've got this area back here to give the player something else to do back here. And so what I want to do is we're going to use the locked gate and key. And these again are from the Toy Box Takeover set. And I'm going to place this right back here in the corner like that. And then we're going to put this Sidekick Door inside that locked cage. So in order to get to it, the player is going to have to open the cage. Now, for the key, where I would like to put this key, oh, I have to scroll back over to the left here. Where I want to put the key is right on that ledge. And I can go ahead and drop this, and this is going to work fine. The problem that I've encountered, though, is when I reload this toy box and I come in here, that key will not be there. And I think the key gets placed before this mountain piece gets placed. And so this ends up falling through down into the lava. And so that does not do me any good. And so I have to delay the placement of this key until after this mountain shows up. Or I have to put the key somewhere else. And I'd really rather not do that. And so what I'm going to do is use a replayer to put this down. And for that, come back to the Creativi-toys drawer. And we'll wait until everything is in place. Before we do a playback on the replayer. And let's come in here to Properties, turn that playback interval to 0. Okay, and on the replayer, I'm going to step onto it to open the menu in the lower left. On my Wii U, I press B to start recording. Step off so I can get back into the editor. And now I can place my key. One thing though is you'll notice it's not going to let me place it very easily. So I'll have to place it here and it'll actually just drop down onto that ledge. Excuse me. Because that's one of the items that's affected by gravity. And now that that key is there, I'm going to come back up here to the replayer and step on to open that menu again. Press B to stop recording and press A to clear. And so now the key is not there. Now the question is when to do the playback on the replayer. And I tried using a level starter and I actually got into a little bit of trouble with that. And so what I'm going to do instead is use a trigger area. And we'll place this at the door to the treasure room over here. Because the problem I had with the level starter was that the level starter would automatically do the playback when you entered the level, which was fine, but if I wanted to test this a few times, or I play through this while I'm building this, that replayer could be in a wrong state when I do a playback on the level and then save it. And so this way, that replayer is off. I'm saving the game. It's going to be in the off position. And on the trigger area here, I'll wait till I'm actually going to play through this. And so on this archway here, I got a trigger area so that when it's entered by player any, then I'll come over here and do the playback on the replayer. And if I've got two players, I don't want to do two playbacks on the replayer because that'll end up corrupting it. And so we're also going to need a logic gate down here that we can use as kind of a pass-through because I can't connect the replayer to itself. Because what I want to have happen is when the player walks into this target trigger area, sorry, and not only do I want to do a playback, but I want to turn this off. So when any player enters this, we're going to come over to our logic gate and input, and on the logic gate, new logic connection on output, we'll turn around and deactivate that trigger area. So that'll ensure that the playback on that replayer only happens once. And it's probably going to be a good idea to hook this button up to do a reset on that as well. So on our reset button here, new logic connection when pressed, we'll go back and activate that trigger area. And I could have that button clear that replayer, but if I were to press that right now, that would cause a problem. So I'd rather not do that. I'll clear that replayer manually if I have to. Alright, so there we go. I believe that's just about everything for the rail slide maze. All I have left to do is to add the gems that will block certain paths and then hook it up so that the player dies if they touch the gems. But I'll show you how to do that next time. Until then, I want to thank you for watching my video today, and for those of you who want to build this in your own toy box, I've got a logic diagram on my blog for today's episode that might help you out. And if you want to subscribe to my channel, just click my photo in the lower right corner of this video and be sure your notifications are on, and then you won't miss the next episode. For now, Aladdin and I are signing off. Have a great day.